was asked about the atrocities and the minorities in Bangladesh, he would dub it as a propaganda by divisive forces. But today, on the floor of the House, the Minister of State for the External Affairs, Mr. Kirti Vardhan Singh, while responding to the situation in Bangladesh, categorically mentioned the attack on temples, that too during the Durga Puja, attack on a prominent Hindu temple there in Bangladesh, and also said that it is a responsibility of the Bangladesh government to ensure the safety of minorities. And this is not the one of the isolated incident only because the situation has flared up after the arrest of one of the Hindu monks there. But what happened even before that, because that Hindu monk was vociferously was raising the voices of Hindu minorities and also was raising the issue that how the security forces, the fringe elements, the elements aligned with some Islamist groups were hounding or were openly attacking, issuing threats against the minorities. And despite the fact the Bangladesh government issued a counter statement against the statement issued by MEA saying that this is all divisive propaganda and the courts are very impartial. They are doing their job, and perhaps this Hindu monk was accused of disrespecting the Bangladeshi flag. But despite all this, the Indian government stands behind its statement and has said that it is the responsibility of the Bangladesh government to ensure the safety of minorities. Now it has to be seen whether Mr. Yunus will walk the talk or whether this Hindu monk will have a fair trial from the local court there in Bangladesh.
All right, Mohammad Ghazali, Saurabh Gupta, thanks much for giving those details for our viewers to understand what really is happening there. Now, Chinmay Krishnadas continues to be in custody. Whether he'll get a fair trial is one aspect, but what will be the response from the Yunus government is now a question that I pose to the panelists joining me this evening. We have Ambassador Veena Sikri, who, of course, has been at the forefront of really decoding what's happening in Bangladesh. And we also have a voice from Bangladesh, from Dhaka, joining us to really put some perspective on how things are unfolding. Okay, Ambassador Sikri, let me come to you, and then I get in Mohammad Kamrazan as well. You know, when you talk about how things are unfolding right now in Bangladesh, the sense one gets is that the statement by the government today really puts it in no uncertain terms. The fact that how it views the present situation and how it is unfolding in Bangladesh, which is that minorities are being attacked, Hindu organizations are being targeted, and the priest, for as things stand right now, may or at least there's hope that he gets a fair trial.
Yes, absolutely. I think that this is very correct what our government has said today in Parliament. It is the responsibility of Mohammed Yunus's government to look after the law and order situation and to protect everybody, every citizen, including the minorities. More than that, Mohammed Yunus had personally given this assurance to our Prime Minister. Right in the very beginning, we know after the 5th of August, the minorities were attacked mercilessly. The Buddhists, the Hindus, the Christians, and actually our Prime Minister had raised it even in the letter of congratulations he sent to Mohammed Yunus. Mohammed Yunus had telephoned our Prime Minister and said, yes, I'm going to assure that everybody is safe. But clearly that has not happened. And on the contrary, in the recent note put out by the government of Bangladesh, they said, oh, we have complete communal harmony. Durga Puja went very well. But we know that during Durga Puja, mandaps were attacked. The Jeshweshwari Kali temple, their idol was stolen. And all these things are continuing to happen. And in the last 1 week, it has gone completely out of control because meetings in Chittagong, meetings in Rangpur, all these have been attacked. Temples have been attacked in Chittagong just 2 days ago. So I think the minority communities are under great tension. And the leader who was organizing it, Chinmoy Prabhu, who is the head of the Samalito Sanatan Jagran Jyoth, he has been arrested and charged with sedition. I know just today that somebody was saying from Bangladesh that even the sedition charge seems to be fake because the visuals show that the flag of Bangladesh, which is supposed to be disrespected, was not really the flag of Bangladesh at all. So even that charge is fake. And we do know that even the demand to ban ISKCON. Yesterday, it was the student leaders in Dhaka, Hassan Abdullah and Sajjad Alam. They made a demand, the students' anti-discrimination movement, you must ban ISKCON. And promptly, the Attorney General went to the court for the ban.
Veena Sikri, let me get a response from Mohammad Kamrazan as well on this, senior journalist joining me from Dhaka. As things stand right now, it almost seems like things are unraveling in Bangladesh. Why is it that one is seeing these instances of attacks on minorities and on Hindus now happening with the frequency with which we are seeing them? Why is it happening?
Thank you very much for having me. Actually, now the matter is under sub judice, so I have to talk with highest caution. But I think that the court today, actually, it has been a little bit confusion. Actually, court said today that the banning on ISKCON is a matter of the government, and the law enforcers will conduct investigation. Then it's the decision of the government, not the court. So government will, after the investigation, take decision whether the activities of the ISKCON is like the activities of any terrorist organization. But there is confusion among the people, especially...
Let me ask you this, sir. Let me ask you this very simple question. To term a religious organization which has been involved in relief work during disaster as a terrorist organization is a very, very sharp step and a very strong step that has been taken by the government. What is the basis for a draconian measure like this to be taken?
Yes, I said that investigation is underway. So we have to wait until the investigation. But if you want to clarify this, you already know that ISKCON has already clarified is that the statement or activities of Chinmoy doesn't mean that it is the activities of ISKCON. So everything will be clear after the investigation. But why people are confused and why the students' leader are demanding to ban ISKCON? Because after the fall of Sheikh Hasina on August 5, the demonstrations, there were slogans in favor of the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and also there were many reports that ISKCON have been working in favor of the ousted Ahmadiyya League government. So whether ISKCON is a religious and spiritual organization or working in favor of the ousted Prime Minister.
Those are conjectures and targeting.
So
Veena Sikri, let me give you a chance to respond to our guest from Dhaka.
Well, I think that this is absolutely unheard of, that you have these conjectures and allegations, and that is taken as a means to ban an organization. Conjectures and allegations in 3 months, there's no investigation, no result, and the Hindu minorities, the Buddhist minorities, the Christian minorities have been attacked mercilessly. And we know that even President-elect Trump has spoken about it. He has said that there is chaos in Bangladesh and there are barbaric attacks on the Hindus and Christians in Bangladesh. And I don't know how the government in Bangladesh and the students of the anti-discrimination movement who are being credited with having created all this change of regime, which we know is not true, but anyway, they are being credited with it. But they are now saying that ban this thing. It does not seem like a responsible statement. And for improving the relations, for keeping up the good relations between India and Bangladesh, we need responsiveness, we need high degree of responsibility, and we need a high degree of interest. On the other hand, we find in Bangladesh there's a very strong attempt to fire up an anti-India sentiment. Everything is being blamed on India. Whatever you want to blame, that whatever Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina did, you blame it promptly on India. And as if the two are interlinked, we are two sovereign countries. We have had good relations. There are a number of projects, very important projects of cooperation, economic trade, connectivity between India and Bangladesh. We would like to continue them. We have expressed our interest in continuing the talks with the government of Bangladesh. It's up to the government of Bangladesh to respond.
Exactly. It is up to the government of Bangladesh to respond to this and see if they want to escalate this into a bigger diplomatic issue between the two countries. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking out the time and speaking and really decoding how things are right now between India and Bangladesh. Remains to be seen whether this can be addressed diplomatically or not. All right, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side with lots more stories and lots more expert analysis and interviews. Stay with us.
Quidco gives you cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco. Sign up and start saving today. Search quidco.com.
Shop Etsy's Cyber Spectacular until December 3rd for up to 30% off items crafted by small businesses. For savings on gifts that say, I get you, Etsy has it.
Do you remember the wonder and joy of Christmas? Singing about a baby born with no place to stay. But this is the reality for millions of families today. From South Sudan to the Middle East, war and disaster have left them with nothing. No food, no warmth, no home. Mothers, fathers and children are searching for safety, hoping to survive. Christian Aid is by their side, offering food, water and vital supplies. But we can't do it alone. Please show you care. Text Food3 to 70455 or go online today to give £10 to Christian Aid and help provide life-saving supplies to families in crisis. Because no family should face Christmas with nowhere safe to stay.
Quickly remove unwanted hairs with the new U-Body and Face Trimmer from JML. Your pain-free way to tackle any unwanted hairs that pop out of nowhere. The wide dual head design and floating heads adjust to the curves of your skin. Gentle enough to use on your upper lip, knees and ankles, and even your bikini line. No nicks, cuts or irritation. Remove unwanted hairs anytime, anywhere with the new U-Body and Face Trimmer. Only $19.99 from Asda, Argos, Boots, Tesco and JMLdirect.com. JML, your Christmas made easier.
Christmas can be challenging at the best of times.
Okay, Mum.
But for families who have lost or are losing a loved one, it can be overwhelming.
They're here, they're here. Oh, Annie, I'm so pleased to see you.
So amid the anger, could you give £23 to fund an hour of care? In between the stress,
It's not too late. No, you're not too late.
could you fund an hour of comfort? And amongst the grief,
You're not alone.
could you fund an hour of joy?
Okay, Mum. You all right?
This isn't the kind of Christmas anyone ever wanted.
But with your help, we can be there to make it the best one possible.
To give £23 for an hour of care, comfort and joy, please call 0800 810 0212, text CARE to 70488 or search Marie Curie Christmas. Thank you.
Join me and the Style Squad. Shop now exclusively at Freeman's.
Welcome back. This is India Global. We now turn our focus to the other big story from the neighborhood. Well, the latest in terms of Pakistan-China relations. The two sides met. There have been a spate of incidents where CPEC projects have been targeted. China has been asking for boots on ground time and again, something that Pakistan has resisted. But how long can it do so? Now, there have been talks on counter-terrorism, but of course the pretext is that China's second highest ranking military general is in Pakistan right now, of course seeking boots on ground. Will that lead to Pakistan's sovereignty being compromised any more than what it is already? And the security implications of this for India is now the key question that we are asking. And joining me from Beijing is Aina Tanjan, who is well known to, of course, be speaking pretty much what the Chinese official version has been. I hope you're going to be candid today. Let me start by asking you that this conversation, in fact, this meeting between Chinese and Pakistani officials are taking place at a time when CPEC projects are facing a lot of attacks. There have been talks about how China may scale back on Pakistani investments and how it wants to get Chinese army on ground. Do you see that happening going forward?
Well, I don't know if it'll be the Chinese army, but there is an argument that they would like to have civilian contractors who are charged with protecting the many Chinese engineers and workers who are working on CPAC. This has been a bone of contention between Pakistan and China. Pakistan has said that they would take all measures necessary, but they seem to be softening these days and readily admitting that perhaps some assistance would be useful.
I see this, having Chinese security forces on Pakistani soil is probably just a step away from sovereignty being lost.
Well, I don't think having a few soldiers who are offering protection to somebody means that you've lost your sovereignty. After
It
all,
means you don't trust the
presidents take their
Pakistani
guards
forces,
with
right?
them.
You want your own boots on
Well,
ground.
yes, the idea that somehow China wants to take over Pakistan, given the realities on the ground, I think even you would admit that is highly unlikely. China has a huge investment, $26 billion in CPAC. They want to see it through. They have this kind of a vision, as we saw in South America, where they believe that having ports, highways, and rail is something that will help development. And this is one of the original projects, but it is behind schedule. There are issues, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be either a pull away from Pakistan or somehow Chinese troops are going to invade it.
These investments are in multiple countries under the BRI scheme. You don't have security forces in all the countries where you are rolling out projects. It means it's a scheme being designed specifically for Pakistan and specifically for Pakistani territory.
Well, actually, that's not true. There are, in fact, Chinese.
In all countries, there are Chinese forces?
Not all. Look, let me answer. I didn't say all countries. I was pointing out to you that there are Chinese private contractors who are doing work in the Middle East and Africa, but they're doing it on a small scale. And there's certainly, it's not like other forces out there, private security forces that are actually fighting wars. They're just offering protection to VIPs, executives, etc. And in fact, in Myanmar, China has also made the same arrangements that they would like to be able to have private security be there so that they can in fact protect Chinese executives and interests.
Fair enough. You have this arrangement maybe in more than one unstable country. But tell us, in terms of the larger design that CPEC has, the corridor, of course, is a major security threat when it comes to New Delhi. The fact that China continues to invest in this corridor, the fact that it's willing to now get its own security forces to ensure that those projects are up and running, investments are protected, also indicates, sitting here in New Delhi, the perspective that one gets is, the sense one gets is, that there is more to these projects than just common economic goals.
Well, you can project whatever you want. You can say that you think that China's going to take over Pakistan. I don't know exactly what you're getting at. But the fact is that the quickest route from A to B was through area which China and Pakistan dispute. But the hope was that these countries would come together and realize that, in fact, their destinies lie in peaceful negotiations and settlement and trade, not through this kind of tit-for-tat warfare, or I shouldn't say warfare, tit-for-tat tensions that continue to be part of it. I mean, Pakistan is obviously undergoing some very, very difficult times economically, socially, and politically. This is not the time to try to destabilize it. I don't understand sometimes why my Indian friends say, well, we don't like Pakistan, we think they're against us. But a Pakistan that is unruled, that is just spreading out across the areas, could be a real danger to India. And so I don't understand this constant idea that Pakistan has to be put down or put in their place.
I did not say that India's interests lie in an unstable Pakistan. I never said that. In fact, instability of Pakistan, I haven't even asked you, because that has separate and important ramifications, sir. And the fact that an unstable Pakistan with Chinese security forces on ground actually means that the security implications for India just multiply, which is why I asked you about the sovereignty being the #1 question.
How do they multiply? Please explain to me. You keep saying that this is a threat to India. How would a trade route be a threat to India?
It's not just a trade route, sir, and I wish we had more time, but that's television. We will chat about this offline, and I will tell you why I feel there is more to it than just being a simple trade route. The reason why countries around the world question BRI India is not alone. Around the world, those questions are being asked because it's not just a trade route. Thanks much for taking out the time and speaking to NDTV and India Global. And in fact, on that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back on the other side, talk more about, well, the Navy test fired the 3,500-kilometer ballistic missile. We come back and talk more about it after this very short break. Stay with us.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pomelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 021 3925 and giving £2 a month to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 021 3925, text C7 to 82727, or go online and give just £2 a month now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
सर, सबसे ज़्यादा ब्लॉकबस्टर फिल्में डिलीवर करी अमिताभ बच्चन के साथ में, और आप लोगों की जोड़ी टूटने का एक असर अमिताभ बच्चन जी पे भी जरूर पड़ा होगा।
जरूर पड़ा होगा। उनको इस बात का अफसोस हुआ होगा कि
कभी बात हुई उनकी आपकी इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, मैं अगर होता उनकी जगह और जैसे जावेद साहब गए या मैं गया तो उनको यही राय देता है कि मत छोड़ो, अच्छा खासा तुम्हारी एक जोड़ी है, वो काम कर रही है, अच्छा खासा चल रहा है, काय के लिए इसको तोड़ते हो। तो मैं होता तो ये करता।
तो फिर आप उनकी बात सुन लेते और उसका फिर जोड़ी वापस आ जाती?
नहीं, जोड़ी वापस नहीं आती, बस ज़रूरत ही नहीं काम करने की, ये तोड़ने की, करते रहो। तो अगर मैं होता तो ये राय देता। पता नहीं उन्होंने क्या राय दी है वो।
पर आपकी बात हुई कभी उनसे इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, बात तो होती रहती है, मुलाकात हो जाती है तो। मगर वैसे वो ज़्यादा सख्ती से बात करते भी नहीं हैं।
अपने में रहने वाले
अपने, वो ज़्यादा किसी के करीब आते नहीं है, वो
अपने में ही रहने वाले रिजर्व आदमी। और बाकी जो इंडस्ट्री थी, जब आप लोग हटे, आप लोगों की जोड़ी हटी, तो बाकी इंडस्ट्री का क्या रिएक्शन था उस समय? उसके बाद
कुछ लोग तो खुश होते हैं कि अच्छा हुआ।
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We are now focusing on
Quidco gives you cashback every time you shop on over 5,000 brands. It always pays to Quidco. Sign up and start saving today. Visit quidco.com.
If you're homeless, you're never safe.
This Christmas, too many young people, like Kira, will be at risk, right here on our streets. But you could help a young person find safety and begin a new future by sponsoring a room at Centrepoint.
It's more than a room. You get real support and training to help you get your life back on track.
This Christmas, please search Centrepoint Room online today or call 0808 281 8003 and be the turning point for a young person like Kira. Thank you.
Get comfy this Christmas with Pillow Pad Fold Away from JML, the multi-angle viewing stand that makes any device easy to see, comfortable and hands-free. The plush microfiber ledge holds any device securely at the perfect viewing angle, and it comes with a handy storage compartment. It's a great gift for sofa surfers. Whether you're sitting, lounging or lying down, get the perfect view with Pillow Pad Fold Away. Only $19.99 from Asda, Dunelm, Morrison's, Tesco and jmldirect.com.
The all-new Temper Pro, our most adaptive mattress ever. Born from NASA technology, billions of ultra-sensitive cells relieving even more pressure for ultimate comfort and support. Now available with SmartCool technology. Temper, the future of sleep is here.
Dreams come true, come to the other side.
And India maintains a policy of no first use, then it would be very difficult for the enemy to know where we have moved or where we are keeping or placed the submarine, which can, on the directions of the command, the nuclear leadership, actually launch these ultimate weapons of destruction. The technology curve involved in testing this is very, very difficult. Not only does the missile need to accurately fly to its target, it is believed that this missile would also have multiple warheads, maneuvering warheads, but just the ability to successfully propel this missile out from the submarine while it is underwater and then launch or fire its rocket motors to ensure that it flies to its designated target and accurately is something which has been perfected by very few countries. India is one of them. It's not the first time that we've tested a submarine-launched ballistic missile. The earlier missile was a missile called the K-15, but that had a range of only about 700 kilometers. This is the real deal.
All right, now shifting focus to the other very important story coming in from the other big conflict that we are keeping a close watch on, which is the West Asia crisis. The nuclear debate, in fact, has now become even more and shifted, in fact, towards the possession of nuclear weapons in Iran, where they've said, and Iranian leadership is learned to have said, that if the West goes ahead with a threat to impose or reimpose all the UN sanctions, then the country will have to look at having a nuclear deterrent. That's what the foreign minister has said. These remarks come as Donald Trump is set to return to the White House come January the 20th. Meanwhile, Iran is set to meet with Britain, France and Germany for talks on Friday on its nuclear program after the three governments joined the United States to have Tehran be censured by the UN atomic watchdog. Now, last week, the 35-nation Board of Governors of the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency adopted a resolution condemning Iran for its lack of cooperation on nuclear issues. Now, what does it mean going forward? Does this mean that the war is now entering a dangerous and a next phase? The fact that Iran is looking at having a nuclear option, or the fact that it's posturing by using the N-word, does indicate that there could be some back and forth in terms of negotiations. Also, it could mean that between Israel and Iran, there could be fresh tensions, given that nuclear deterrence and nuclear program has been at the heart of the conflict and issue between Iran and Israel. Let's get in DP Srivastava, former ambassador of India to Iran, joining me on the broadcast. And we also have Zaki Zaidi, who's a former researcher of IDSA. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking out the time. And in fact, let me start with you, Ambassador Srivastava. How do you see these latest statements coming in from Iran? They could be posturing, they could be negotiating tactics, but they also come at a time when the conflict is at a very dangerous moment.
I think let's start on a positive note. Immediately after the US election results came out, there was a meeting in New York between the Iranian PR and Mr. Elon Musk, who's it's well known, very close to President-elect. President-elect Trump has also said that he wants good relations with Iran, except that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, which is exactly what the Iranian official position is. Now, given this context, there is hope that there could be a way forward. Tomorrow they will be meeting with the E3 representatives, that is UK, Germany and France and Iran. Iranian statement, of course, is they had made similar statement last time around, and it must be remembered that they actually increased the enrichment level. That is, once the West withdrew from the deal. So you should not dismiss it completely, but at this stage, there is still scope for negotiations.
Mr. Zaidi, how do you see these fresh statements that have come in from Iran? There will likely be a response or a backlash from the other stakeholders as well. How do you read this situation?
Hi, thank you for having me on your show. To understand the current situation, probably we have to go back a few months back when Israel for the first time attacked Iranian consulate in Damascus. And this was Iran declared it as a red line that Israel breached. And from that time, Israel has continued to breach the Iranians that have set up the red line. It's with killing of Hassan Nasrallah, assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran while the inauguration of the new president was going on, and then the recent attacks on possible the nuclear installations and that Iran air defenses. So Iran is like faced with sort of a threat, like existential threat, that Iran is bearing the cost of having a nuclear weapon while actually not having it. So there is a public debate within Iran that why not, if we are bearing all the cost and especially the US and the Europeans, they are not pressuring Israel to abide by the international laws as they saw in Gaza and Lebanon. So they think like possibly this is the only option. However, there is a fatwa of the supreme leader that forbids Iran to have a nuclear weapon, like according to their religious positioning. But when the government and the regime is threatened with the existential crisis, so they might have to exercise this option. From the another perspective, we can see that this is also a posturing that they are going to negotiate with the European powers and before Donald Trump assumes the presidency. So they are signaling that they are going to negotiate, they are open to negotiation, but with, in a better positioning.
Do you think it's prudent to explore these options right now ahead of a transition that's taking place in American administration and governance?
Iran is using the time period what's having from today to till the President Trump takes office, and that they are signaling and trying to understand that what signal they might get from the US, that if they are open for negotiations, if they are open to renegotiate the JCPOA and nuclear deal. But from the Iranian perspective, after the assassination of especially Hassan Nasrallah and Netanyahu just yesterday said that we are now declaring a ceasefire with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and we are now going to focus more on Iran. So it is a veiled threat against Iran, and Iran has to, because it has lost on many fronts, like in Gaza, in Lebanon.
Nuclear weapons. Mr. Zaidi, Netanyahu didn't speak about nuclear weapons. So I'm just saying, and let me get in Ambassador Srivastav on this as well, which is that the war or the conflict right now is in a phase where efforts are being made, at least some ceasefire has happened, efforts are being made to try and see if there are possible negotiating options on the table for the other aspect of the conflict. Ambassador Srivastav, do you think in that situation, any such move could actually be a huge setback in talks and negotiations?
As Mr. Zaidi was pointing out, the provocation has come from Israel, not Iran. Iran has been very restrained. It was assassination, despite the assassination of Haniyeh on its home ground, an earlier assassination of Iranian diplomats and Iranian embassy in Syria, which is a third country. So this time also the timing has not been chosen by Iran. This has come in reaction to IAEA adopting a resolution against Iran. So, you can look at it both ways. That is, Iran has upped the ante, or if you actually look at the background, it has been the EU which has upped the ante by bringing the resolution just at this stage, when there were some indications that both US and Iran were willing to talk to each other.
Okay, final word, Mr. Zaidi. According to you, what could be the next steps that the world needs to watch out for? Because it's a volatile situation. It's where there are many moving parts to it. In your assessment, what can be the top 2 or 3 things to really watch out for in this situation right now?
I think what concerns most, especially like the whole axis, especially the Iran, is it was the war in Lebanon that ended for the time being with the ceasefire, and they have like for the time and again they have said the war in Gaza has to end. Iran foreign minister a few days back also mentioned that we are still in preparations to respond to Israel from its last attack, but we take into calculations its ceasefire in Lebanon and its possible ceasefire in Gaza. So we are like still have to see that how when Donald Trump takes presidency and if there is a possible ceasefire, because Trump has signaled that under his administration there will be no war. So we hope something positive will come up.
All right, I agree with Mr. Ambassador Srivastava. Let's end on a positive note with the hope that there could be some sort of a resolution to this conflict. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out the time and speaking to me on India Global. Let's now turn our focus, from one conflict to another. Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to target decision-making centers in Kyiv with the new IRBM missiles. Putin has claimed that Russia is forced to deploy the new missiles in response to what he has called the enemy's actions. A reference to Ukraine's usage of US and UK manufactured missiles inside the Russian territory. Remember, UK has provided missiles and so has America in the last 2 weeks or so. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky has claimed that Russia used cluster munitions at Ukraine's energy infrastructure in what Kyiv has called a very vile escalation of Russian terrorist tactics. But before we move any further, let's first listen in to what Russian President Vladimir Putin had to say about the latest aspect of this warfare.
Сегодня ночью нами был нанесен комплексный удар с применением 90 ракет подобных классов и 100 беспилотников. Поражено 17 целей. Это военные объекты, объекты оборонной промышленности и системы их обеспечения. Повторю еще раз, эти удары с нашей стороны состоялись также в ответ на непрекращающиеся удары по российской территории американскими ракетами «Атакамс». Как уже говорил неоднократно, с нашей стороны ответ всегда будет.
All right, let's get in now. Voice from Ukraine. A Ukrainian member of parliament joins me, Oleksiy Goncharenko, to really understand this next phase of warfare and what Ukraine is doing in response to that. Your first reaction to these attacks that have taken place on the Ukrainian infrastructure?
Russia continues its campaign of terror against civilians, and this night again civilian infrastructure, power grid first of all, was attacked throughout the whole country. Now part of the country is without electricity, and it's very difficult for people. It makes people suffer.
So there have been attacks on the power infrastructure of Ukraine. And do you think this could be the next phase of the warfare, where it is the critical infra assets that are targeted?
Russia is doing this already for the third year. From the beginning of full-scale invasion, they are attacking civilian infrastructure. Unfortunately, nothing new.
Okay. You're saying that Russia has been doing this for a while now. In terms of Ukrainian response to this, because, there's also been a fair response that Ukraine has done, whether it is in terms of taking the UK missiles or the US missiles that have actually gone deep inside the Russian territory?
More air defense to protect our energy infrastructure. We try to repair the infrastructure as soon as possible. Also, we need more long-range possibilities to destroy Russian military objects from which Russia launches these attacks.
Okay, so you're saying you need more of those long-range missiles, and is that what you've asked NATO as well as specific countries, whether it's US and UK, who've been supplying those missiles to Ukraine?
More air defense, more long-range capabilities, and more sanctions against Russia, because they already use billions of dollars in these missiles, and that's only because their war chest, unfortunately, is full from the money. So sanctions don't work in the way they should.
All right, thanks much for giving us your view on what's really happening as far as Russia-Ukraine conflict is concerned. All right, on that note, we slip into a very, very short break. We come back on the other side. We talk about another important voice. This time we have a former diplomat and former minister from Norway, Erik Solheim, talking about American overreach when it comes to the Adani Group. Stay with us.
Dreams come true, come to the other side. I can feel energy. I believe in healing me. All I need is sweet release in the freedom of the night. Freedom of the night.
Join me and the Style Squad. Shop now exclusively at Freeman's.
At Tesco Mobile, that Black Friday feeling lasts longer. Get the epic Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra with unlimited data for just $49.99 a month with Club Card prices. That's a huge Black Friday saving of £738. And what's more, that price is frozen for your whole contract. Plus, you'll also get Club Card points for even more value, turning Black Friday into Black Friday. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Go on, show us what you got. Look at him go.
I can do better than that.
Go, Yasmin!
Watch the master.
Compete in Gala Bingo tournaments for a chance to win a share of £10,000 each week. Gala Bingo, where a little joy goes a long way.
Madhya Pradesh, the heartland of India. With 1,000 years of preserved history and diverse wildlife. Celebrations of art and heritage. Explore Madhya Pradesh. Join us for an interaction on investment opportunities in Madhya Pradesh. Meet us in United Kingdom November 24 to 27, 2024. And Germany November 28th to 30th, 2024. A precursor to Invest in Madhya Pradesh, the future-ready state.
सर सबसे ज़्यादा ब्लॉकबस्टर फिल्में डिलीवर करी अमिताभ बच्चन के साथ में, और आप लोगों की जोड़ी टूटने का एक असर अमिताभ बच्चन जी पे भी जरूर पड़ा होगा।
जरूर पड़ा होगा, उनको इस बात का अफसोस हुआ होगा कि
कभी बात हुई उनकी आपकी इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, मैं अगर होता उनकी जगह और जैसे जावेद साहब गए या मैं गया तो उनको यही राय देता है कि मत छोड़ो, अच्छा खासा तुम्हारी एक जोड़ी है, वो काम कर रही है, अच्छा खासा चल रहा है, काय के लिए इसको तोड़ते हो। तो मैं होता तो ये करता, समझा।
तो फिर welcome back. You're watching India Global. Now, a very important voice joins me. Erik Solheim, who's a Norwegian diplomat and a former UN Environment Program joins me. He's executive director and also been a minister in the Norwegian government in the past. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time and speaking to me on NDTV. Let me start by asking you, you've spoken and in fact written about the overreach when it comes to America. I want to ask you that when it comes to the American overreach in the case of Adani Group, in your assessment, how detrimental it is for businesses?
This is very negative because you force a major business, which is so important for the green transformation, to spend time in court rather than to build solar panels out and wind industry out in reality. And of course, it makes financing much more difficult. Fundamentally, I believe it's an American overreach. If you turn the tables, let's assume that an Indian court were to accuse top American officials from Google or Microsoft or Apple for potential crimes in the United States. No one in America would find it appropriate that an Indian prosecutor is accusing an American company for alleged problems in the United States. The United States should leave it to India to sort out problems in India.
There's no bribery case against Mr. Adani. Why do you think these motivated cases are being taken up?
I will not speculate on this, just to note that the time that the United States can act as the overlord or the global judge is over. Maybe that was the way it worked in the past, but the global south is now so powerful, no one will accept this. And it has a negative impact on the green transition and on economic development, again, because major businesses, of course, will be a bit worried with this, and they will take some time again for the Adani Group to regain the initiative.
And how do you think such cases impact business sentiment and business climate?
These kind of accusations are very negative for business, but when you look to the finer detail, there is no accusation of actual bribing. It's the claim that there have been consideration of bribing, and there is no accusation against the top leadership of the Adani groups, in Gautam Adama or Sagar Adani. It's accusations of other people in the group or in the business environment. But when this takes off in media, it has very negative impact. And of course, many business partners of the Adani Group will at least initially be a little bit worried and they will stay away. That, I think, over time will come back. But the immediate impact is negative, there is no doubt.
Okay. And do you think President-elect Donald Trump in his second term will address some of these vested interests in the American establishment?
Well, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but I may believe that he will have one positive impact on the world, and that is that Donald Trump will not want to intervene in the domestic affairs of every other country in the world. And that will be appreciated from nearly all other corners. We simply don't want the United States to intervene in domestic issues in any other nation.
Which brings me to ask you, what do you think of the Adani Group's plans to build capacities for green energy?
Adani Group is absolutely critical to the green transformation in Bharat, India, but also in the world. This is one of the biggest promoters of green development of solar and wind. The plans for the combined solar and wind farm in Gujarat, well, that's the biggest solar and wind farm anywhere in the world. And the Adani Group also had major plans for investing in green sectors in the United States of America. This is, of course, an immediate setback, but I'm very certain that Adani Group will come back with full force. But we should avoid these kind of setbacks because we need this green transformation where Adani is so central more than ever.
All right, Mr. Solheim, thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking on a story that has huge implications. In fact, on that note, shifting focus now to a segment that we've been talking about at India Global, which is the countdown to Trump 2.0. Latest update is coming in that Mark Zuckerberg, a Facebook founder and owner, and Donald Trump dined at Mar-a-Lago. Zuckerberg and Donald Trump have not been on the same side of the political thought in the US in the past, but it seems like there is some progress being made in terms of the opposing political views of Mark Zuckerberg and Donald Trump. They've dined after years of strained ties, and Zuckerberg, in fact, had banned Donald Trump from Meta platforms. In fact, the Trump administration picks targeted with bomb threats, and this also comes in as there have been some reports indicating, and in fact an official statement has come in from Donald Trump's team that his picks have been targeted with specific bomb threats. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
We all know animals have feelings. They depend on kindness, just like you and me. So imagine how they feel when they're beaten, starved, and unloved. Every minute, the RSPCA is called on to save animals in physical agony and mental torment. It's unbearable to see the pain in their eyes. We refuse to give up on them, but to rescue them from a life of fear, we urgently need animal lovers like you to donate today. Please call 0800 121 4259 or text KIND to 84902 to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. Your gift will help fund more life-saving rescues, more emergency treatment, and more gentle rehabilitation. Every month, you'll be helping to keep animals free from pain and sadness, so they can find the comfort and joy they deserve. Right now, across the country, thousands are suffering deliberate harm. But together, we can show animals what kindness feels like. Together, we can rescue them. So please, call 0800 121 4259, text KIND to 84902, or visit our website to start your monthly donation today. Thank you.
TUI's Black Friday deals have landed. Save up to £300 per booking with a My TUI account. Pick from tons of flight options and holiday durations. Get away for less this Black Friday. Offers now on. TUI. Live happy. Financially protected by Atoll.
A share of £32.5 million must be won in People's Postcode Lottery's December draws. Sign up before midnight on the 1st of December.
Some people think life slows down in your 50s, but I'm just getting started. And I don't want my lot to have to worry about funeral costs. Let them spend their money on nicer things. So I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who can make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. And no annoying trips to the doctors either.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 470 4474 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
Focus this evening, but first let's take you through the headlines we're tracking this hour. Intense discussions on in New Delhi to decide the contours of Maharashtra's next cabinet. Mahayuti leaders to meet Home Minister Amit Shah a day after clearing the decks for Fadnavis and the BJP to be at the top. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan signs a supplementary agreement with the Adani Virinjam port for future development. YSRCP Chief Jagan Mohan Reddy defends the Adani Group and rejects the charges in the United States, says the Congress is isolated on the Adani issue. The CBI and NIA extradite from Rwanda an alleged Lashkar-e-Taiba operative and a key conspirator in the Bengaluru prison's radicalization case. Salman Rahman Khan was brought back to India from Kigali. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra begins her journey in the Lok Sabha, takes oath as the MP from Wayanad, dressed in traditional Kerala attire and holding a copy of the Constitution. First up, the top focus this evening. Call it the political battle over the centre's welfare schemes. Are the concerns of states refusing to implement central schemes genuine, or are the reasons purely political? That's the focus on the show this evening, even as the Delhi High Court is hearing the BJP versus Aam Aadmi Party battle over the centre's Ayushman Bharat healthcare scheme. The DMK in Tamil Nadu rejected the Prime Minister's Vishwakarma scheme, while the AAP accused the centre's healthcare scheme of excluding several citizens and argued that its own scheme is more comprehensive. Tamil Nadu categorically refused to implement the Vishwakarma scheme, which it says promotes caste-based vocation. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin says the centre did not make the modifications sought by the state to the scheme, which aims to provide skill development and credit support to artisans and craftsmen. Stalin says the state will now introduce a more inclusive scheme on its own. Meanwhile, the BJP accused the Aam Aadmi Party of blocking implementation of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. The Delhi High Court has issued notices to the Aam Aadmi Party government. West Bengal too, remember, had refused to implement the scheme. Let's first take you through the big political reactions that came in today before we head to our special panel this evening.
Today, there was a second hearing of this petition. The 7 MPs of Delhi have knocked the court's door to ensure implementation of Ayushman Bharat in Delhi as well. The Honorable Delhi High Court was pleased to issue notice today. Now, the petition is going to be heard on the 11th of December. What weighed with the court was that the central government is willing to give money to the Delhi government in order for a smooth implementation of this scheme, and yet the Delhi government is taking such a hard line stand against implementation of a scheme which has already been implemented in 33 states and union territories out of 36.
आयुष्मान भारत में एक तो एक लिमिटेड नंबर ऑफ कैटेगरीज हैं कि अगर आप एक रैग पिकर हैं, आप कॉबलर हैं, आपके 10-12 कैटेगरीज हैं जिसमें आप आयुष्मान भारत में आपको हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस मिलता है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, उसमें बहुत सारी एक्सक्लूजन्स हैं। अगर मेरे घर में फ्रिज है तो मैं आयुष्मान भारत के तहत इंश्योरेंस नहीं ले सकती। सेकंड, एक इम्पॉर्टेंट कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन ये है कि आयुष्मान भारत किसी भी एक परिवार पर 5 लाख प्रति साल की कैपिंग लगाता है। तो अगर परिवार का एक सदस्य बीमार हो जाए और उसको 10 लाख रुपए का खर्चा आ जाए तो पहले तो 5 लाख उनको उसमें से देने पड़ेंगे।
What is Vishwakarma scheme? The name itself says that the people who do some certain work as per their caste should continue to do, and the government will support them. That is not the way. The government should make everybody educated, come up in life to become other. A person from Vishwakarma community can become an IAS officer today. He cannot be asked to go back to his own work. So we wanted a change in this. That scheme helps, provides financial support to those who follow their profession, their casteist profession, which is wrong. That is what the opposition means.
Well, some nuanced points being made there on both sides of the divide. So is it pure politics, or is there a serious concern for states over central welfare schemes and the way they are coined? Joining us this evening, Selam Dharanidharan of the DMK, Prashant GS of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Anmol Panwar of the Aam Aadmi Party, and Liz Matthew, the senior journalist in the midst of the politicians in the panel. Thank you all for speaking to us. My first question to you, Selam Dharanidharan, is it purely an extension of the antagonistic stand between an opposition party ruled state and the central government that is playing out in the rejection of welfare welfare schemes, or are there genuine concerns beyond just nomenclature? Why has there not been an effort made to work with the center to perhaps retailor the scheme? Your first response.
Hey, firstly and foremost, DMK as a party has never given up on its ideology. Our ideology has been nearly constant from 1949 for the party until today. And the issue that we've all got, in fact, even in 1950s, where
okay, we seem to be...
DMK vociferously opposed. Can you hear me?
Right, we can hear you, Selam Dharanidharan, but your line's a little patchy, so make your point make your point first, please, quickly.
So, yeah, see, we vociferously opposed it, but the whole point is that we in the DMK believe that the union government should give the states the fund and autonomy to implement what they want to do. You can't give one solution to entire country, because the states in this country are profoundly diverse than even countries of the European. For example, the national education policy says we will bring GR about 50% by 2030. But in Tamil Nadu, we obtained GR in 2010 itself. So which means the policy itself is flawed. So that is what we are saying. You can't have one solution for the entire country. Each state to devise its own policy and have its own scheme. That is actual federalism. Only then the country will grow. You can't have one policy designed in Delhi and implement for all the Indian states. Each of them have different culture, different level of growth, and different socio-economic growth. So give the state the independence to do. Let states will know best what has to be done. Right? For example, in many cases, even the eligibility criteria...
Your line seems to be patchy at the moment, Selam Dharanidharan. We'll get you back. We'll get you back once your line is clear. GS Prashant, the accusation here is that this is a one-size-fits-all approach by the center without consultation of states or taking state-specific needs while crafting welfare schemes, and which is why a state like Tamil Nadu says it's rejecting the Vishwakarma scheme, which it says even in terms of nomenclature sends out a different message in that state.
See, DMK's divisive politics now is being played out. They want center's money and autonomy on spending for the states. Why is this? Because when a center is formulating a scheme, it cannot give step-by-step treatment to any state. All states in the country, in union territories, center has to take care of them equally. So therefore, they cannot make differentiation between one state versus another. So therefore, a uniform policy, for example, Ayushman Bharat, applies to all citizens in all states in union territories in a similar manner. You can't make an exception saying, for a person in Tamil Nadu, Ayushman Bharat will give different benefits, and for a person in Mizoram, benefits should be different. Definitely not. So therefore, when the center formulates a scheme, it is in the interest of the entire country and not merely making one state play out politics here. Look at what Aam Aadmi Party is doing in Delhi, and now DMK in Tamil Nadu, they not even wanting to implement center schemes. Even in Karnataka, the Congress-ruled state government here will not want to implement a lot of schemes, because when they have to pool in equal money, when the center gives it to spend, these people are not even doing that, which means they are antagonizing the people.
Anmol Panwar, respond to GS Prashant.
We will not do this.
Mr. Raghav,
Anmol Panwar, respond to GS Prashant.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Raghav, we believe that healthcare should never be politicized, and it is the responsibility of every government that the citizens must be provided best quality healthcare infrastructure in their state. And we can easily differentiate between the two schemes. I have a very simple question for you, Mr. Raghav. In the Delhi healthcare scheme, we are providing free test, free surgeries, free medication, free hospitalization, free comprehensive care. And there's no cap on spending limit. A person will get a tablet worth ₹10 free of cost and a surgery worth 1 crore free of cost. Whereas on the other hand, you have a model wherein you have to pay for the test, you have to pay for the surgeries, you have to pay for the medications, you have to pay for the hospitalization, and there's a cap of only ₹5 lakhs per family per year. Suppose there are 4 family members and 2 of them get ill, then and there's expense of more than 10 lakhs, then they'll have to incur around 7 lakhs out of their pocket. And moreover, that scheme excludes the ones who own a refrigerator, a telephone, a landline, a pakka house, and who's a government employee. So which one would you choose, Mr. Raghav? The first one or the second one?
Okay. GS Prashant, which one would you choose, says Anmol. He says that the state government schemes are better, and this shows how the center did not take into account state government schemes while crafting the policy. Please go ahead and respond to that before I get Liz Matthew.
Yeah, Veera, you have government hospitals where they don't differentiate between who goes there. The OPD charges is also nominal, and the hospitalization charges is also covered there. So therefore, Ayushman Bharat is an insurance scheme over and above what the government hospitals in every state give facilities. And center always ensures that funds are released on time for any medical emergency and for all the schemes. It is the states who are playing politics here, unable to digest the growth of BJP. They are playing politics over here, saying that they make a particular mention in one state, and when they go to another state, their own alliance partner has a different viewpoint. So therefore, they're only trying to politicize the issues here. They're unable to digest that BJP is the one who's actually standing for social justice, because from the time of COVID, 80 crore people have been given rations. So what is the opposition's claim to that? They're not even willing to accept that. And they rebrand the rice sent by center as if given by the state governments and distributed. What is that then?
I'll get a response from both the Aam Aadmi Party and the DMK on this, but I just want to get Liz Matthew into this conversation. Ma'am, are we seeing this as a reflection of the polarized political climate between centers and some opposition ruled states, or is there a genuine concern from the states in terms of how these welfare schemes have been crafted, and is it a one size fits all that the center has adopted in several of these schemes? Your assessment.
In fact, both points are correct here. You should see it in the context of, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, you should see it in the
context
of
the
new politics, because the welfare politics we have seen in the recent past, the post 2024 Lok Sabha election, all the elections which happened, like whether it is in Haryana, whether it is in Jharkhand, whether it is in Maharashtra, the welfare schemes, the cash rollout had its importance, and also with increasingly political parties making women focused, women centric approaches to the elections, electoral politics, we will be seeing more of this thing. And of course, when the welfare politics and the schemes become the very significant part of the electoral approach and the strategies, of course every political party would like to show it as their projects. When from the BJP side, it would be looking at, okay, the central government spending, it is a project which we have, the party has planned and implementing or rolling out. They would like to see it as their scheme, and they would like to see it as it's been rolled out as their scheme. Same with the regional parties and the state governments. Here also, it is not an entirely central government projects. In many projects, what happened is 60-40. We have seen in the last house, we have seen, the health minister. I'm not talking about 18th Lok Sabha, I'm talking about the previous house. The health minister talking about how he's going to not give money to the state if they are not giving up the names of Pradhan Mantri. Okay. For the state, they are giving 40% of the money. And also, like you said, if every scheme, the state government, like Odisha had, the previous government had a very good health
It's an important point that you... I'm sorry to interrupt you, Liz Matthew, but it's an important point that you've made, and I have very little time, so I want to specifically pose one question to all three politicians, starting with Salem Dharnitharan, whose line seems to be better off. This is not about ensuring welfare, but it's about taking political credit for this. Whether it is the BJP, DMK or AAP, this is more about taking electoral political credit for welfare schemes, and hence there is often a contest between states and centers. How would you respond to that insinuation? Salem Dharnitharan first.
No, I completely disagree with the statement. For us, whoever does social justice and who works for the betterment of the people, you're fine with it. But here the problem is not that. I'm not going to a specific scheme, but overall, when union government will devise all the schemes and will ask the state to contribute to it, what we see is that efficiency is lost. Why efficiency is lost is, for example, there was a scheme in education department for which we couldn't use that fund in Tamil Nadu simply because all the schools were better than the threshold which was mentioned. Right? There was one scheme for Dalits and Adi Dravidas. And that scheme also we couldn't use because everyone in Tamil Nadu were above the threshold. So which is why I'm saying, why don't you let the states design and implement? The money to the central government, union government actually goes from the states. When Mr. Prashad spoke, he made a point saying states beg for money from the union government. But actually the money to the union government come from the states. If Tamil Nadu gives 1 rupee, we get 30 paise back. And remaining 70 paise is used by the union government for running their government as well as to send to other underdeveloped states. So it is the state's money which the union government has. Right? So what I'm saying is, you give back the entire 30 paise to us. And then we will do what we have to do, right? We have been crafting great policies and implementing.
This is a divisive politics.
Anmol, you make your point now.
Yeah. Mr. Raghav.
Anmol, please go ahead.
How is it divisive?
How
was it dividing?
No, Anmol, let Anmol make his point. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Anmol.
Mr. Raghav, it's never about taking credit. It's about the belief that everyone in the country must get better healthcare regardless of social or financial status or income. That is why, in fact, the reason why it is not possible to implement this scheme in Delhi, because in Delhi, the minimum wage of a worker is 18,000. Whereas to be eligible under this PM Ayushman Yojana, you must have an income less than 10,000 rupees. So it automatically excludes 90% of the residents. So may I know from Mr. Prashant that how would they incorporate each and every resident of Delhi under this scheme?
Last 40 seconds to you, Prashant. Please make your response and then we'll have to close this debate.
I think people from Aam Aadmi Party are only talking about Delhi, but as BJP being the largest party and running the government, we have to look at even the remotest parts. So if he's talking about 10,000, everybody's got 18,000. What about a remote village in Jharkhand? Are they having 10,000 or 9,000? Even less than that.
Can you be specific?
So
can you be
therefore,
specific,
we
sir,
have to
about
be very
Delhi?
clear insofar as what we're talking about. Like how DMK is playing divisive politics, saying that give back our entire money. It's only a bit to say we want to be different from the country. That is not how countries run.
Give back entire money.
So therefore,
that's how the countries run. That's how the countries are run. That's exactly how countries are run.
You want to divide the country and say you want a separate
again, it's turned into
Tamil Nadu. That will not happen.
Federalism is not dividing the country. Federalism is uniting the country. Federalism is uniting the country and not dividing the country.
It's again turned into a political exchange instead of a fair.
Mr. Prashant, this is not my question.
What about